Well, good evening for those that are just signing on now. We'll get started in a couple of minutes. Just want to give time for everybody to be signed in. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We'll just give it another 2 minutes to make sure that everybody that is attending has signed on. Just one more minute. Thanks for your patience. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is the webinar for the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit Project. This is our virtual open house. Today is June 16th. It is 5:30 p.m. We anticipate this going until 7 o'clock. So thank you again for joining us. Well, my name is Leanne Boyd. I'm with Highland Planning. We're doing the public engagement for this project. And we have several speakers here this evening from NFTA, and we would like to, I guess we'll just get going now. And just a side note, this meeting is being recorded. Nicole, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you, Leanne. Hello, my name is Nicole Hill. I'm a senior transportation planner at the NFTA. The Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority is pleased to welcome you to this virtual open house on the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit Project. Joining me today from the NFTA is Nadine Chalmers, Leanne Boyd, Tanya Zweihaelen, Stephanie Hyde are all from Highland Planning and joining us this evening, as well as Melissa Martin and Michael Amabile from Creighton Manning. Next slide, please. The NFTA is holding this virtual open house on the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project to inform the community about the project, provide an update on the progress we have made, and review the work that has been completed over the past year as part of Phase 1. Today, our project team will also be presenting the defined project, which will be carried into engineering, which is part of Phase 2. NFTA is looking for feedback from the public on the defined project, and we will be providing an update on what to expect in the next couple of years as this project moves forward. For those of you just joining us today, please look at the map on the right-hand side of your screen, which identifies the corridor of the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project. Next slide, please.
So a few housekeeping notes as we get started. This meeting is being recorded and it will be posted on the project website, which you see up on your screen. Materials from the project update are also on the website. These are any boards or documents that we're referencing throughout this webinar. And we ask that you submit comments via baileybrt@nfta.com by Monday, July 7th. Additionally, we are not, what we're asking you to do is we will have some polls that will happen throughout the process, throughout the meeting. You'll be able to respond virtually to those polls. If you would like to enable closed captioning, please click on the closed captioning box. You can see we show the Zoom toolbar down at the bottom of the screen here. Well, we ask that you use the Q&A button to ask specific questions, and our team will be available to answer those questions as we go through. So you can type them in and we'll respond accordingly. And we'd like you to use chat to submit any of your comments. So the first thing we have is we will have our first poll, and it's have you been engaged by NFTA about the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project before? And below you can see the options. Yes, I received a mailing. Yes, I met an ambassador. Yes, I attended an open house in February. Yes, I heard NFTA present at a community meeting. Yes, I went to the event on June 11th. Yes, more than one of the above. And no, this is my first interaction related to Bailey Avenue BRT. And we will post that right now. And if you can see that on your screen, is everybody seeing it on their screen? Great. And in a minute, we will end the poll, give you a little bit to respond to this. So far, we have 3 people responding. So we ask that you take a look up on your screen and click the most likely option. Here, we'll give another couple seconds. Great. Thank you. And just for your information, you can see, should be able to see the results. Okay, we'll move on. All right, I think back to NFTA.
Thank you, Leanne. So you're probably wondering if this is your first time tuning in, what is BRT? BRT is bus rapid transit, which is a fast, more reliable bus-based transit system that includes shorter wait times, more frequent service, high-quality stations, and transit priority features like bus-only lanes along a dedicated corridor. The NFTA reviewed BRT systems from around the country to help inform the features and design of the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project. The images on This slide show typical BRT features like near-level boarding in Metro Transit in Madison, Wisconsin, queue jumps and branding at CDTA in Albany, and bus-only lanes at Indigo in Indianapolis. Next slide, please. Bus rapid transit is being implemented on Bailey Avenue to improve the transit service and rider experience on one of the busiest bus routes in the NFTA metro system. The Route 19 carries more than 2,600 riders per weekday. Adding BRT to Bailey could shorten commute times for Bailey bus riders by as much as 15 minutes. Some of the upgrades being included in this project are shown here on this slide. Enhanced stations and mobility hubs will feature improved customer amenities. There will be more frequent and reliable buses. There'll be special transit signals and transit signal priority features like queue jumps. There will be some dedicated bus only lanes in strategic locations along the corridor, as well as pedestrian and streetscape upgrades as seen on some of these different project element icons. There will also be a new and upgraded bus fleet. Battery electric buses are being proposed to serve as the primary BRT vehicles. These high tech buses will be battery powered and will charge at various NFTA facilities throughout the area. This project will also have special buses that will brand these BRT buses, stations, and map to give the service a unique identity and distinguish it from the other existing bus routes. The Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit Project and the associated improvements to sidewalks, traffic signals, and the roadway will provide better transit service and repair public infrastructure in ways that will support further investment in the communities along the corridor. Next slide, please. Over the past year, the NFTA and the team of consultants have conducted the final steps in the planning process before we can begin engineering for the project. Here's a brief overview of what we did, which includes these prior studies. So these prior studies were done previously before this project was built out. These efforts included Buffalo Billion's East Side Corridor Economic Development Fund by Empire State Development, the Bailey Avenue Corridor Improvement Study, the City of Buffalo's Build Back Bailey project, and the GBNRTC's Moving Forward 2050 update, which serves as the region's metropolitan transportation plan. These studies generally focus on developing solutions to address disinvestment and improve transportation in and around Buffalo's east side. The results and outcomes of these studies have helped inform the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project. Next slide, please. Our team couldn't just rely on the work of others, therefore, existing physical and operational conditions throughout the corridor were assessed as part of this project. Elements like sidewalks, bus facilities, curb ramps, crosswalks, congestion, sidewalk, and pavement condition were cataloged and analyzed to better understand the needs within Bailey Avenue and the study area to better understand what improvements were needed in the corridor. Here are some example pictures of some of the existing conditions along Bailey Avenue. Next slide, please. In addition to this prior planning work, the NFTA project team conducted some other analysis to confirm some of the assumptions from those prior studies. This included a crash analysis to identify intersections with higher numbers of crashes, traffic analysis to make sure that improvements would make the buses faster without having too great of an impact on congestion, a ridership analysis to make sure that BRT stations are going at the right locations, and a special analysis to determine how much energy is needed to charge the buses and what that would mean to the schedules. The results of these analyses and meetings were critical in advancing the project, including informing the conceptual design of BRT stations. The project team used special traffic models to analyze these impacts with the proposed new lane geometry, which would be needed to implement the BRT service. The team looked at all vehicles and bus travel in both the northbound and southbound direction at AM and PM peaks. The table to the left of your screen shows the existing travel time for vehicles and buses and the proposed travel time with the implementation of BRT service. The results of this analysis show that there is of minimum impact to automobiles on the corridor and up to 15 minutes of travel time savings for the BRT bus. Next slide, please. The project team developed initial design concepts for the BRT stations and mobility hubs and for the roadway and streetscape improvements. This was an iterative process because we developed the initial kit of parts, which is shown here in the black and white sketch, and showed this to stakeholders. We made revisions based on stakeholder feedback and then showed the conceptual shelter design, shown here on the colored image to the bottom right of your screen, to the public at the open houses we had in February. The project team then made some additional edits based on the input we received from the community at those open houses. Next slide, please. Engagement is one of the most important parts of this project. The NFTA is dedicated to ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to be part of this project, especially those who may have been excluded in previous efforts. NFTA created a public participation plan to help guide all aspects of engagement and community involvement. The public participation plan is used to target different types of engagement activities, which include meetings with stakeholder groups, tablings, attending community events, and developing various digitalized materials, which you can see on our website if you would like to visit that. The project team has been working on engagement efforts since the summer of 2024, including a variety of in-person activities. This includes over 40 tabling and pop-up events, 15 community meetings, and 6 key stakeholder groups. We've also had community ambassadors out in the community educating, building relationships, and updating the community about the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project. This has been done through door-to-door knocking, visiting businesses and cultural centers along Bailey Avenue. The map to the right of your screen shows the 9 different ambassador areas and shows a sample of the locations of outreach events held throughout the corridor. NFTA previously launched an online survey towards the end of last year. The purpose of the survey was to assess community needs and desires related to the Bailey Avenue BRT project. The top 3 improvements for Bailey Avenue identified by survey respondents were faster buses, calmer traffic, and more buses. After analyzing all of this survey data, the 4 major themes found were that community members wanted greater bus frequency, a safer corridor, infrastructure improvements, and improvements to the cleanliness and comfort. The results from this survey were used to inform the conceptual design of the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project and reaffirmed that the community desires identified in past studies were still being felt. Next slide, please.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Nadine Chalmers. I'm the manager of planning here at NFTA, and I'm going to go through the next 10 or so slides that define the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project going forward. So the purpose of all that review and analysis and engagement that Nicole talked about was to define the project, right? What does BRT on Bailey Avenue mean? What does it look like? And, that's exactly what we've done over the past year or so is define the project. After today's meeting, and after we receive comments by July 7th, we will be moving into the next phase of the project, which is engineering. And in the engineering phase, basically what we do is we fill in all the details required to construct and run this service. So in the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to tell you exactly how the project stands, and I'm going to cover 3 major categories: BRT stations, transit priority elements, and street and sidewalk improvements. Next slide. So this slide lists all of the important elements that we have selected to be part of the BRT stations. And then I'm actually going to go to the next slide because it's more exciting because it actually shows all of this equipment that you're going to be seeing at BRT stations. So this is a new rendering of the southbound station at Minnesota Avenue. So we're kind of looking west right now towards the southbound station. So this is what the stations are going to look like. And you can see that we're planning to have seating, weather protection. You can see there's a Metgo machine there, so people will be able to buy their passes before they get on the bus, which makes it a lot faster to load everyone onto the bus. You can see a hint of a digital sign there at the top of the station, and that digital sign will tell you when the next bus is coming. Things that you can't see in this photo, but that we are planning to include in the station are heating elements, right, up in the ceiling to take the edge off that winter chill, and also heated sidewalks below to help minimize the buildup of snow and ice. And you can also see in the rendering, the curb comes up in the station area. So the purpose of elevating the curb and the platform is to make it easier to get on the bus. It's called near level boarding. So you don't have as big of a step up when you get on the bus. Next slide. So this rendering is at the future Delavan station, and we're looking east right now. So we're mostly east and a little bit north. You can see that church, the mosque to the north there. So here, this is a different view of the station. You can sort of see the side and back of the shelter. And you can see we've included an overhang so that you could wait on both sides of the shelter there, depending on how many people are there, or if it's windy in a certain direction. You can also see we're including an opportunity for public art there, and that's just a sample print, but each station will have a space to include public art. You can also see plantings there. Across the street, you can see trash cans. So these are all features that the community asked for, especially the public art opportunity and the trash bin. So we're excited to be including those. Also across the street here, you can see a mobility hub. And a mobility hub is basically an add-on to the BRT station that invites connections to other modes of transportation. So in this mobility hub, we're featuring bike share, ready bikes. You can see the red bikes there. So the idea is that someone might take a ready bike, park it at the BRT station, and get on the bus. And we're planning to include mobility hubs at 8 of the 13 BRT stations, including South Park, Seneca, Broadway, Walden, Genesee, Blankfield, and University. Next slide. So the second category of improvements that I'm going to talk about are transit priority elements. So one of the most important parts of this project is that we are speeding up bus service so that riders can get where they're going more quickly, right? It's all about speeding up bus service. And we're using some pretty cool tools to do that. They're called queue lanes, queue jump lanes, transit signal priority, and bus only lanes. And they're illustrated on the next few slides. Next slide. So this is a rendering of the future Williams station. And we are looking north here, northbound. This station is planned to have a queue jump lane with a bus only signal. And you're probably wondering, what is a queue jump lane? So a queue is just a line. So a queue jump basically allows the bus to move to the front of the line so that it can stay on time and it doesn't get stuck behind a line of single occupancy vehicles or people in private cars. So you can see there's a little box there in the rendering. So that is a bus only signal. And it actually comes from, it's mostly used on light rail lines, but basically it's a different signal head so that people who are driving don't think it's for them, right? It's only for the bus. And it uses a bar instead of green, yellow, red. So the horizontal bar will tell the bus driver to stop. The vertical bar will tell the bus driver to go. So, and the bus will get that go before the private vehicles get the go, again, to keep the bus on time. So that's what a queue jump is. And south of this station here, you can't actually see it in the rendering, but south of William Street Station, we're also including a bus lane. And a bus lane is exactly what it sounds like, right? It's a lane only for buses. Private vehicles can use the lane only if they're turning right onto a side street or a driveway. Otherwise, it's buses only. And again, the whole point here is to keep the bus moving, keep the bus on time, so everyone can get where they're going more quickly. Next slide. This rendering is of the northbound station at Kensington Avenue. So we're looking east here. Kensington Avenue, and in fact, all of the intersections along this corridor are going to benefit from something called transit signal priority, which is when the bus can call ahead for an early or extended green if it's running late. So this means that bus riders will spend less time sitting in traffic, spend less time waiting at red lights, and the buses can stay on time. Another important element of this future service that you can't see here is higher frequency buses, right? We're aiming for 10-minute peak frequencies. So a bus that will come every 10 minutes in the peak hours, which are, 6 to 9 a.m., 3 to 6 p.m. And also not shown are the fact that the buses are going to be branded, right? They'll look a little bit different from regular buses so that they really stand out and you'll know, oh, it's the bus rapid transit coming, that one's faster, more frequent, etc. You'll be able to tell the difference. Next slide. So the third category of improvements is streets and sidewalks. And these improvements will be concentrated at the BRT stations. At each BRT station, you'll see repaired pavement and new markings, a new curb and sidewalk like you saw in the renderings, traffic signals, crosswalks, new ADA ramps, new pedestrian signals, additional street trees, and street lights. So all of that will be included at each station. And if you go to the next slide, you can see a lot of these things in the rendering. So this is at Genesee Street looking south on Bailey Avenue. And you can see all the intersection improvements that I was talking about. So we've got that high visibility crosswalk for pedestrian safety. We've added a lot of street trees here. We know that's really important to the community. We heard a lot of people asking for more shade, more trees. You can see we've added benches as well for people who are passing by or people who are waiting for the bus. So those are the improvements that we're including at the 13 BRT stations. But in between BRT stations, we're also able to make some streetscape improvements, which I know is also badly needed. So in partnership with the city of Buffalo, we're planning to replace certain sections of sidewalk and to upgrade those sidewalk areas with things like trees, benches, new lighting. And at this point, it's looking like we'll be able to it's looking like approximately 2.5 miles of Bailey Avenue in between stations. We'll see new sidewalks and all of the benefits that come with that, including street trees, lighting, and similar. So around 2.5 of the 7.5 mile corridor in between stations, we'll get a whole new streetscape. Next slide. All right, so this graphic basically sums up the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project as it stands. And this is the project that will be shortly headed over to engineering. So again, we're planning 13 stations with well-lit heated shelters, real-time travel information, heated sidewalks, unique branding, and an opportunity for public art. 8 of those 13 stations will have a mobility hub with opportunities for bike parking, bike sharing, and any other mobility options that may become available in the city of Buffalo before launch. We're going to have 4 queue jump lanes and 3 bus lane segments. And again, the goal there is to keep the buses moving, help them move faster, and help them avoid getting stuck in traffic congestion. We're going to have 12 new battery electric buses that will operate along the corridor, and they'll charge at the regular NFTA garages. And those buses will be branded in a special way. As I said, we haven't decided yet how to brand it. And we're actually we'll drop the survey link in the chat. We're doing a study right now on how to brand those buses. So we'd love your feedback on that. This project will see improvements at more than 40 intersections along Bailey Avenue. And those improvements may include new crosswalks, pedestrian ramps, traffic signals, and more. As I said, we're looking at 2.5 miles of streetscape rehabilitation and reconstruction in between stations. So that could be repairing and replacing sidewalk, fixing the curb, planting new street trees, and more. And then finally, the ever important frequency, right? We know that riders care most about frequency and reliability, and we're aiming to have the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit come every 10 minutes. During peak periods and early evenings, and 30 to 60-minute headways off peak. And this will result, as Nicole said earlier, in a 30% reduction in travel time compared to existing local service. So right now, if you get on the Bailey Avenue bus, you get on the 19 and you ride it end to end, it takes you around 40 to 45 minutes. With all these improvements, we're looking at it taking only 25 to 30 minutes. So our goal here is to save riders time in their day and get everyone where they're going on time. Next slide. So we're going to hand it back to Highland for some polls.
Thank you, Nadine. So poll number 2, which part of the project is the most exciting to you? Is it the BRT stations or the mobility hubs? Intersection improvements, transit priority elements, more frequent bus service, sidewalks, or the streetscape? So we'll post that poll, and if you could take your time to fill that out. And just a reminder while we're doing this, if you have any questions or comments, please add questions using the Q&A button in the toolbar. And if you have any just general comments, please please press the chat button and add your comments. Okay, so we've got everybody, about 13 people post the results. All right, great. So it looks like majority of you on the phone or on the call are most excited about the transit priority elements, and followed up by BRT stations and intersection improvements. So that's great. And again, if you have any specific comments or questions, please go to the chat for comments and Q&A for questions. Okay, we've got one more poll. We'll go to that next. Which part of the project do we need to explain better? So thank you so much for listening. And I think that this would be really helpful as we move into the next stage to allow us to better understand what we need to share. So again, the same items that we had, the same selections we had before. So please respond. We're just over 50% respondents. Get a couple more, that'd be great. Okay, well, let's see, I'll end the poll now. And looks like most people are hoping that we will explain the intersection improvements a little bit more. And then followed by the BRT stations, the transit priority element. So those seems to be the 3 big focus items for everybody. So thank you again for taking those polls. All right. Now next steps. I think that's to Nicole.
Yes, thank you, Leanne. Next slide, please. So here you'll see our project schedule. What has been presented in this evening's project update was the work conducted during phase 1 of this project, during what we call pre-engineering. Now that the NFTA has defined project elements and extents of the work, we will be beginning phase 2, or the engineering phase of this project. During this period, NFTA will be focused on developing the designs of stations, traffic signals, roadway, sidewalk, and streetscapes in the areas that were shown in the previous maps. This process will require coordination with the City of Buffalo and our partners. In phase 2, there will also be ongoing outreach to the public and transit riders about the project and dedicated engagement with property owners, businesses, and community groups anticipated to be directly impacted by the project. During this phase, NFTA will also work on further refining the schedule for the new bus service, as Nadine mentioned, and complete some related studies on things like a brand for the new service. Next slide, please.
So then just a couple of reminders. We want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. And again, we will be posting the project on the website, www.baileyavbrt.com. And we also ask that you submit any comments via the email address, baileybrt@nfta.com by Monday, July 7th. And this will allow us to really hear these additional comments and better understand, your beliefs and your thoughts as we move into the next phase of design. So with that, well, thank you. And what we're going to do right now, because we moved through that pretty quickly, we're going to open up to questions. And I think there's one or two in the chat that Nadine is going to respond to directly. And then if you would like to ask any additional questions, please just raise your hand and we will unmute you. So thank you. I think the first question, Nadine, if you wanted to take the one in the chat that is asking about the federal funding.
Sure. Yeah, I can respond to that one. And then also John has a question about frequency. So we can take both of those while everyone else is thinking of their questions. So for the federal funding question, I know there's been a lot of really confusing news articles in recent weeks. And so, we really regret that it's been a little confusing for fans of the Bailey Avenue Bus Rapid Transit. But because the funding was fully allocated before the administration change, we believe that the funding is not currently at risk. Obviously, anything could happen in the future, but the project has not been affected currently, and we're proceeding as quickly as we can. For the frequency question, I appreciate, so John here has asked a question that says, I saw that off-peak frequency is 30 to 60 minutes, about the same as a regular bus line. That reduces the attractiveness of the BRT line. How come this is so? And I really appreciate this question because the service plan is still in development, right? So this helps us understand that riders are looking for better frequency than 30 to 60 minutes. Ultimately, it will depend in some part on bus driver availability, but we know that travel habits have changed since COVID, and the peaks aren't as steep as they used to be. So we are looking to have buses come as frequently as we can throughout the whole day, not just during peaks. So stay tuned. We'll certainly take your comment into consideration.
Are there any comments or any elements that you might like us to go into a little bit more detail on? There should be a button at the bottom of your screen to raise your hand if you would like, and we will unmute you. There's some more questions in the Q&A. The question is, what hours is it likely to operate? 5 a.m. to 7 p.m., 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., or just 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.?
It would not be 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. It would be longer hours than that, likely matching approximately what the 19 is doing right now, which I think is even longer than 5 a.m. It's closer to midnight or 1 a.m.
Okay, we have another question in the chat. How are the rapid buses interacting with the normal bus route?
Want to take that one, Nicole?
Sure, no problem. So as Nadine mentioned, we are going to be updating our service plan, but the goal is to keep the local 19 bus with a little bit of a reduced service just because the BRT will be serving the same stops that the local 19 will be riding on. So the plan is to have the local bus be able to utilize the bus only lanes similar to the BRT bus, and then there will be local stops remaining on Bailey Avenue.
All right, another one. Will the light be delayed for private vehicles compared to how it is to allow the bus to pass through for queue jumping?
That's a great question, Samuel. Um, Leanne, I'm not sure if you want to backtrack to one of the slides we showed on, I think it was slide 12, that shows the analysis that was done, which ultimately resulted in showing that even with the queue jumps and TSP, there would be very minimum impacts to personal automobiles. So at maximum, there would be a 3-minute delay during the southbound PM peak periods. So ultimately, there would be very little interference with the existing automobile traffic.
It looks like Hayden has a follow-up question. The 19 will service more stops along the route, correct? Or both will service the exact same stops?
To clarify, the 19 will have a reduced number of stops along the corridor, just because the BRT will also be servicing the same intersections that the local 19 would have is traditionally stopping at. This is just, we're still developing which stops will remain and which will stay based off of our service plan and what makes the both modes of buses communicate and work with each other.
Going back to the from Nina, can you explain the 3-minute delay in more detail? Is that 3 minutes at one lane? Is it based on traveling a certain distance along the corridor? Like that's this 3-minute right here.
Okay, yes. So that 3 minutes is, I believe, for the entirety of the corridor. Michael, do you want to confirm the
Correct. That's
parameters of that?
correct. That's 3 minutes. Both the time savings, max time savings are end to end, and the additional time is end to end. So most people will not be traveling the entirety of the corridor, and so will not see that delay. Equally, someone had asked the question around the time savings. I don't have access right now to the modeled segments. Certain segments will see greater time savings for the bus than others, but the entire time savings end to end will be 15 minutes, which in some segments could, still be 2 to 3 minutes, especially in areas where the queue jump lanes are expected to have real benefit, or in segments where there are bus only lanes and getting through some congested intersections, let's say in the southern parts of the corridor.
And while you're on, Michael, this might be another question for you. Question in the Q&A. I'm curious how other cities have seen success with the special signals for the buses. I feel like cars would be confused. Have other cities used the signal successfully? And I see you answered the question, but perhaps others might want to hear it as well.
Sure. Yeah. So, and there's plenty of precedents of bus only signals. These signals that Nadine had shown you will be at William northbound. They'll be at Genesee southbound, Kensington southbound. And unfortunately, I'm drawing a blank on one of the other locations. But the point is that they are in use in Troy, Schenectady, and Albany. They're in use in New York City. They're in use in parts of the lower Hudson Valley. I'm speaking here most specifically of New York State precedents, so that way it feels realistic to you and not talking about something that's being done in Los Angeles or London. And they work effectively. Listen, any new piece of infrastructure that's put out there always has a bit of a learning curve, but NFTA is working to make sure the community is as informed as possible about these things, and there will be public information campaigns and information out there to let people know. Just one other thing to clarify, maybe there had been a question about this, but right turns will still be able to turn right from those lanes. So in the image that was on the screen at William, Nadine has explained that there will be a bus only lane that is going north from Clinton, I believe. And as it reaches William, if you needed to turn right at William, you would still be able to turn right from the right lane before or after the bus, right? So if you pulled up there and right turns are allowed, you can turn right. If you're sitting behind that bus, the bus is going to get through that intersection fairly quickly. They'll still have to stop to let people on and off, but then it'll get the special signal and pull through. And once it pulls through, a regular vehicle will be able to turn right from that lane. So long way of trying to answer your question, but they do work successfully. And as I said, NFTA is working to make sure the community is aware of these, and we'll work with the city of Buffalo and other partners to make sure everybody kind of knows what bus-only signals are and what queue jump lanes are.
All right, we can, you want me to keep going? There's a couple more under the Q&A. In several cities, BRT stations are in the middle of the road, but it seems many of yours are on side of road. What was the thinking on this?
I can take that question. And so ideally, there's two ways of doing BRT stations. So that's either center running, which is what you've seen maybe in other cities, and then side running, which we have determined as the best option for Bailey Avenue. And that's based on the existing right of way and width of Bailey Avenue. So we didn't want to make any substantial impacts to any of the existing infrastructure. So we were working within the bounds of Bailey Avenue, and that's why we decided to do side running BRT stations.
Sorry, I apologize, I was muted. Is the construction of these hubs going to affect the bus route and traffic during that time?
I can also answer this question. So during construction, obviously there's going to be some sort of impact as we will be doing some repaving and restriping of the road. However, we're going to be working with the community and the public to make sure those impacts do not affect the existing local 19 route. So for example, while we're working on one section, we may push the bus stop down a couple of feet or so as we're finalizing that. There's other strategies in which we could be implementing mitigation to the construction of this project. And so anything or anybody who's going to be impacted, we're going to be communicating with in the future once we have our construction plan finalized.
Seems to be all of the posted questions. Is there anything else? Or Nicole or Nadine, anything else you would like to share?
I think we're all good.
Great. All right, well, oh, we just got, when will it be done? Let's.
Great question. The project will be, we're going to begin construction in 2026. Well, yeah, thank you for showing this. And then we're planning on ending construction in 2028 and launching service in 2028. So it's right around the corner.
All right, great. Thank you, everyone. Oh, one more. More general on funding. How much is state, local, and federal splits? And remind us of the total price.
That's a great question. So in terms of funding, we received a really great 102 million from the federal government for this as part of this project. And then there's also some existing New York State DOT funding, which I'm not sure off the top of my head. I think it's around 3 million, as well as some other New York State funding to help support this project.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your attendance tonight. I know NFTA does as well. So just a reminder, please submit any additional comments or questions through the Bailey BRT at nfta.com by Monday, July 7th. And keep checking back on the website for further updates and additional documentation as they become available. Additionally, you'll be seeing our community ambassadors out and about on the corridors. So if you have some thoughts, please share those with our team. So on that note, thank you, everybody, and I hope you all have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone.